WrestleZone presents Lost in the Midcard. Here are your hosts, Jeremy Bennett and Matt Black.
There it is. There it is. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the podcast where we've got plenty of news on Punks and Vipers. It's Lost the Midcard. Here we are. Welcome. First show of December. Ho, 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 and all that jazz. It's insane to say that we've got just a few weeks left in this year. Something I completely forgot about, of course, which I'm like maybe only 2 weeks behind now. NXT deadline is this Saturday. So we could go over that card briefly later on. But I've not
been keeping up with the NXT product. I have it on, I have it in the background like when it's on, but I'm really not paying a ton of attention beyond like the top couple of storylines. Like I'll pay attention when Trick Mello's on the TV.
Yeah.
Or Tiffany Stratton, and that's pretty much about it.
Yeah, and I catch up on it when I can. I think I'm an episode and a half behind is all I'm behind on. I think. I don't know. But anyways, thank you to everybody joining us in the chat here tonight. Of course, a lot of people joining in, queuing up early. Craig in the chat at the very top. Good to see you there. Ozzy and Stephen Chambers and Mark Cho. Thanks for joining us. And MK in there as well. And looks like I got some people in the chat. Oh, yeah, let's talk. Some people in the chat that missed Lost in the NFL midcard.
We just didn't have time last week.
No, if you are new to the show, on our previous channel that we were on, literally probably since the start of the NFL season, we were talking a lot of football, a lot of fantasy football, even some college football in there as well. And it was basically Lost in the NFL midcard for the first 10 minutes of the show. We didn't do it last week because boy, did we not expect a Punk coming back to WWE. Plus it was our first show on WrestleZone. So we had a lot to get into between Punk and Orton and Survivor Series and all of that. Throwing in the Continental Classic, which is in full swing now too, which we will get into the updated standings a little later on. All of that, we didn't have much football talk, but before we get to the football talk, if you have not done so already, search WrestleZone, one word, on the YouTube and hit that subscribe button. And also, while you're there, hit that bell icon when you know when we go live. I think we're the only live show on WrestleZone right now, so that'll let you know every time we go live, which is roughly 7:10 Eastern, 6:10 Central, every Monday night, leading you up to Monday Night Raw, your unofficial, official podcast kickoff show for Monday Night Raw. I'm your host, Jeremy Bennett. You can find me on the Twitter at JBHuskers. As always, my co-host, he's on the Twitter at Raw F Showtime. It is Mr. Matt Black. Matt, how you doing?
Oh, it's been a weekend, but I'm here. I'm here to talk some professional wrestling, and that's always a bright spot. I'm always excited to talk about some wrestling. But yeah, I mean, everybody in the chat's talking football, so we have to give the people what they want.
Yeah.
With some Lost in the NFL mid-card. How did your fantasy go this weekend?
I'm beating in my league, I'm beating the guy by 100 points right now.
Holy shit.
I am up I'm 10-2 in that league too. I am just boat racing my league this year.
My God, dude.
My league, I've started it in 2000, so this is the 23rd year of my football league. It took me 16 years to win the title. Then I did it again in 2018, I think it was. So I've won 2 titles in the existence of the league that I've been running, and this year has been my best year ever. I'm about to be 11-2, and just smoking everybody in points right now. So I'm just waiting for to go back-to-back losses and get stuck with 4th place in my money back. I'm just waiting for it. But if you're interested, where's my phone? There it is. It's in my pocket. If you're interested on this like juggernaut team that I've got, I drafted Anthony Richardson for the Colts. I waited on a quarterback. Of course, he got hurt. In comes CJ Stroud, who is now the 5th best quarterback in fantasy football right now, which is insane.
Yeah, that's who I'm rolling with.
I correct myself. I am up by 87, I think, or 83.
That's still like an insane amount.
It's
I'm up by
140. It's 143. It's 143 to 60. He's got 2 guys left, and I got 1.
Jeez, I got
my team that is 10-2 and smoking this guy, CJ Stroud. I took a chance on Kamara with the suspension. I had
he had a big game yesterday.
I had Aaron Jones and James Connors as my first 2 running backs. They were both on my bench this week. I started Kamara and Kyron Williams. I picked up
That's
Kyron
not bad either.
I picked him up somewhere along the line. I went wide receiver heavy at first, in the first couple of rounds. I went CeeDee Lamb. I went Stephon Diggs, who's on a bye this week. Calvin Ridley later on. Sam Laporta is my tight end, who is just a stud this year. Cowboys defense, who's Jekyll and Hyde, but still the number 1 defense. But yet they'll still pop out 30 points for me in a given week. But yet I'm -3 this week, unfortunately. Drake London hasn't done much for me this year. Everybody else has been free agent pickups. So that's my league basically in a nutshell. And here's the funny part. If you've been following the podcast, my biggest money league, I'm literally in the toilet. Actually, I pulled out of the cellar last week. I might be on my way to 2 straight wins, Matt.
Hot damn.
Yeah, insane. How about you? You're only in one league where I'm
only in one league. I am up by 31 points heading into tonight. They have Mixon. I have no one. I'd be up by even more. I started Tank Dell.
Oh, I did too.
Who got no points and got hurt. And this is my first week of the season. I doubled up on the Texans. I went Nico Collins and Tank Dell. Nico had a hell of a game, and Dell got hurt and left me with a goose egg, and I was left with like Puka Nakua on my damn bench scoring 20+ points. And I was just like, you got to be kidding me.
Yeah, I got Nakua.
So that was just my luck.
So
Mixon's never done above an 18.5 point game this entire season, and he'd have to get over 31 points tonight against the Jags. I don't see that happening, especially they're on the road. They're in Jacksonville tonight. I have Jacksonville in that game, and I think it should be an easy win for the Jags.
It's the first Monday night game in Jacksonville in 12 years. So that crowd's going to be nuts. The league I have Tank Dell in, I'm up 20 and I have Chase and he's done. So thankfully I came out the winner there, where I'm going to probably lock in a bye there in the top 2 seeds in that Yahoo money league that I'm in as well, which is nice. And that's also the other league I have Stroud in. So it's kind of nice that Stroud is leading me to a top seed or a top 2 seed in 2 different leagues in there. But I saw it in the let's go up to you see the timestamps there, 6:12 Mark Cho. There's a thing that has been synonymous with Lost in the Midcard. We did not do it last year because we were just getting started on the Believe network, but this is something we've done in our inception, our first 7 years. It's our yearly award show called the Marquees. We are planning on doing it this year. We don't know if we're going to make it a regular Monday show or a special show, maybe a lead into Dynamite, or we just record it and play it through StreamYard. I don't know how we're going to do it. We're going to figure that out over the course of the next couple of weeks, and we'll let you know. But the Marquees are coming back. I did see a comment. Oh yeah, there you go. About 6:07 there. Stephen Chambers. All I got to say, Florida State got robbed. I feel bad for the kids. I was messaging a group chat that I'm in at about 10 o'clock at night. I was out doing karaoke, and I go, I think Florida State was up 4 at the time, and it's getting late. And I go, just based on this performance, I bet it's going to be 1 Michigan, 2 Washington, 3 Texas, 4 Alabama. And sure enough, that was the exact way the committee went. I don't know. I mean, I think the committee went the safest way without the biggest waves, which is not pissing off the SEC, which is ridiculous. We all know that, but I think that's the reasoning they did behind it. Like Kirk Herbstreit was on Pat McAfee show today, said he's on the committee, and one of the criteria is some of your top players, are they available? Well, of course, Florida State's quarterback hurt for the season played into that. Little did I know their strength of schedule was actually better than they were third. I was surprised because they'd only played 2 top 25 teams, and Louisville being the second one. So, you weren't going to make everybody happy this last year of 4 teams, especially when Georgia went down. So, like I said, I wasn't surprised with this because I called it as the Florida State game was going on. What are your thoughts on that, Matt?
I think it's trash. I think the NCAA, the way they've set up things, has always been trash. Hopefully this 12-team playoff thing they're going to set up next year will actually be a lot more interesting and give a lot more teams the opportunity to actually compete. But I've not been a fan of the way NCAA's run their league in decades. Like they've made so many bad decisions over the years that it's hard to be a fan of college football based on the way they run everything in the background. I'm not a fan of that, and maybe the 12-team playoff format will change things for me next season, but I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, at least with 12 teams, it is going to be more about being on the field than playing, getting it done on the field more than not with Florida State not getting a chance to do so. Because I mean, even if they win their bowl game, they're playing Georgia, who just got knocked completely out of the playoffs. First number 1 seed to ever lose a conference title game and get knocked completely out of the playoffs. Are they going to give a shit? That's another thing about bowl season is you don't know what teams are going to give a shit or not. And so even if Florida State beats Georgia, that really doesn't say anything outside of undefeated. So the thing that could have saved the 4-team playoff format was caveats, and these kind of caveats where 1 or 0 loss teams could have a play-in game or something, because there's so much damn time between now and the Final Four playoffs, where, of course, with a 12-team playoff now, there's going to be a lot less time for the playoffs to get started. So, but hey, that's the bed that they lie in right now, and it changes next year. So that's all we can say about that. Let's move on to our main story of the evening. One of the highlights of Survivor Series was the return of the Viper, Randy, Keith, Orton. I'm chuckling because of a comment Matt said in the DMs when I sent him this picture to use for tonight. It on your computer screen, where I'm sitting in front of a 27-inch monitor, it's a little more pronounced, but on a small phone, Matt made the comment, it looks like Randy's got his hand down his pants. So if you're watching on your phone, let me know if you think it looks like Randy's reaching for the little Viper, brother.
Look, you sent me the images for the show, and I saw the Orton thing. I had to do a double take, and I'm like, oh, that's the contract. All right, never mind, because it literally looked like he was like trying to reach down his pants. So
I don't know if Fox would be happy about it if he was reaching down his pants. So,
I mean, why not? Why the hell not?
Oh, that was pretty hilarious though. But Randy Orton, the decision. I didn't know if he would actually make one on Friday or not, but he did. And that decision is that he is going to be on SmackDown. Of course, during SmackDown, Paul Heyman giving the ultimatum, basically saying you don't have to put up with the bloodline. Right? And then he basically kind of threatened Orton, which I think was not the smartest thing to do, because that basically probably made up the decision for Orton. Plus, when you have Jimmy and Solo beating you down, that probably ain't going to help things either. But the Viper is heading to SmackDown. I would assume some point, just with as good a shape he's in, as good as he's looked, as hot as the crowd is for Randy, I would not be surprised if we see Viper Roman Reigns at the Rumble.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what we're getting. We're getting Orton and Reigns at the Rumble. And you know what? WWE has created themselves an out. They have an out. Between now and the Royal Rumble, let's say the two sides come together and The Rock is ready to do WrestleMania. He's ready to face Roman Reigns. You have The Rock come out at the Rumble and cost Roman the title against Orton, and you do Orton and Rhodes at WrestleMania 40. And then you could still do Rollins and Punk if you want to do that, or whatever direction they're going for on the Raw brand. They have literally given themselves an opportunity that if The Rock then plays itself out, they can do that match without, having the title be part of it. Like they have a genuine shot here to pull off something shocking and surprising if they're able to get The Rock on board between now and the Rumble.
Yeah, and God, with the strike ending now, I just don't know if The Rock's going to have time, much like John Cena. I mean, a lot of things were put on hold with that strike, so now a lot of timelines are getting sped up and things like that. And
I mean, you would think, but look, you never know. Like,
it's not like
they work on a couple weeks ago. We were saying there was next to no chance that CM Punk was coming back to WWE, and here we are. So, like, I'm not rolling anything out. Like, there's always a chance, and there's nobody bigger on SmackDown right now than Randy Orton. And if they want to strap up Randy, like, there's a ready-made story there between Orton and Rhodes. So if they wanted to have The Rock come out and cost Roman the title at the Rumble, it set up Rock and Roman at WrestleMania 40. Boom. Like, dude, you could do 2-night double main events. Like, let's say you wanted to do Cody and Orton and Rollins and whoever. And then you could have on one night Roman and The Rock, and the other night CM Punk and Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Yeah.
Like, literally, this could be one of the biggest WrestleManias of all time if they're able to get all their ducks in a row and all the puzzle pieces fit.
Yeah,
like, we'll get into it could be crazy.
We'll get into the Stone Cold part here in a little bit, but yeah, it's interesting. And yeah, I mean, now you can point to Punk returning to the WWE as a true never say never. I mean, we never thought Vince would be out of the picture as long as he's alive. Again, never say never. It's insane. It's insane. Now you can truly never say never in pro wrestling, even though we were saying never about CM Punk coming back to WWE, at least this early at Survivor Series, which was insane.
Yeah, it's freaking wild.
As for Orton signing the contract, he'll be on the blue brand. I'm sure Matt had a nice pop when Nick Aldis got the RKO.
Oh, that was the best part of the show, dude. Magnus eating the RKO. Let's go.
Tensions rising.
That was the only thing that made me smile on SmackDown Friday night was Orton hitting Magnus with that RKO, man.
Tensions rising between Adam Pearce and Nick Aldis, of course, as you saw there in that last segment as well. Update from yesterday at Fightful Select on Randy Orton's contract. Randy, of course, has been out of action a year and a half, and Orton publicly teased free agency for the first time in 2019 before signing a 5-year deal with WWE. This was at a time when the company had mass signed a lot of people to those 5-year deals. I wonder why. AEW. However, one WWE higher up said that they would be surprised if WWE did not end up extending his current deal. Orton's original deal will last at least until the fall of 2024. So there's at least a year remaining, but he missed 18 months. WWE sources indicated there's a distinct possibility WWE could add injury time to Orton's deal that would have him that would have him in the company until 2026. One higher up told us they expect this to happen exists as a probability, but it has not yet been confirmed by Fightful. But there have been some instances where injured WWE talent did not have time added on because they worked other roles or on other projects. But obviously Orton was gone the entire time, so that'll be to be determined. But I would expect that they tack on that 18 months, don't you think?
It's typical WWE practice unless that changes under
Yeah.
Endeavor.
Yeah.
I don't know how they're going to want to handle that, but I mean that's been the typical way WWE has played things. So I'm not expecting that to change going
I mean,
forward.
I would assume Randy's top 5 salary earner for the company. Would be my guess. Google says he's making about $4 million a year. So
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
yeah. So it also depends on what Endeavor will think, but at the same time, I mean, you've heard the reactions. I mean, SmackDown, almost a week after returning from Survivor Series, man, that crowd was insane at Barclays for his return. The pose, the RKO, everything. Like the initial pop was insane, and it even kind of took Orton aback when he was making his entrance. And so yeah, and he says he wants to wrestle another 10 years. So I would I don't know. Would you ever see him leaving the company though?
No, I feel like he's a WWE lifer.
Yeah.
That's just my opinion, But I mean, look, I said stranger things have happened, but I predict Orton to be a WWE lifer. I can't envision him anywhere else.
Steven Chambers in the chat guessing Punk will be on Raw.
That has not been confirmed. They've announced him for SmackDown on Friday, but they have not. I haven't seen anything about him appearing tonight on Raw.
I don't think he
So
will
there's
be.
there's a chance
They would have
there's a
advertised it.
chance he won't be there.
Yeah, I think they would have advertised it if he was going to be on Raw. And then they announced it a week ahead of time on SmackDown. I think they're in Providence next Friday. So no, if he was going to be there, I think they would have already mentioned it in the rundown. So Frantic World, thanks for joining us as always. But yeah, it's I would assume there's no Punk tonight, so don't hold your breath on that.
But we got Punk right here.
Yeah, speaking of Punk, look at that segue. Look at that segue. Punk on Monday night made his Monday night return in about 10 years. Obviously, his last appearance in the WWE prior to Survivor Series was Royal Rumble in 2014. So nearly 10 years it's been since he's been on the flagship on Monday nights. Fightful Select shortly after Monday Night Raw provided an update after he cut his first promo in nearly 10 years. And they Fightful admitted they weren't able to get anybody to admit that they kissed him on the mouth. But he spent much of the day getting photographed officially and with some other talent. Of course, if you recognized things, especially like we even talked about it on the show last week, that they still had old 10-year-old assets for him going into the Monday Night Raw graphic, and then of course using the old Titantron stuff. Though an updated version of Cult of Personality was used, all the other stuff was old, including promotional photos and everything. So they spent a majority of Monday doing that. Those that the Fightful had heard from said he was on his best behavior, as anticipated, and because there is a behavior clause in his contract, but they have not confirmed it. But some higher ups in WWE have mentioned that there is a behavioral clause. House of Wrestling reported that Punk was not taking a victory lap at the end of Raw as a shot at the Young Bucks, as many thought, as he's just looking to move past the entire situation. Punk listed as a free agent as of now. I would assume that since Aldis got one up with Orton, I would assume Punk's going to sign with Raw.
I wouldn't be surprised if Punk decides that he just wants to remain a free agent for the time being and float.
Hey, Brock's able to do that, right?
Exactly. Like, I could see Punk being like, why would I choose? I can go wherever I want. I could see Punk being that type of character who's not going to want to lock himself down to any brand. So I think they'll want to utilize him on both, at least throughout, the road to WrestleMania 40.
Yeah, I would say so. So internally, he is listed as a free agent. No producer was made on that segment. We'll get into the promo part later on because we got another story regarding that. So we'll talk about the promo later on. So save your comments on the promo itself for just a little bit. We'll get to that in a little bit. Stephen Chambers in the chat here at 6:33. Are you planning to go to Lincoln for SmackDown? I am. I think I'm going to try to do like I did, like, for example, Snoop Dogg's concert. I got row 8 for face value, center stage, day of. So I'm going to look for maybe I've never sat on the ramp before. There's a decently priced ramp seat, which I doubt. I might sit around there or just get a cheap seat, one of the two. But I'm going to be there. I haven't gone to the last couple of WWE shows, either stuff going on or no desire to, just with the current product. The way SmackDown's shaping up right now, you got my boy there, LA Knight. Yeah, you got Randy Orton, maybe Punk. So yeah, I'm gonna definitely be there. So I'll give my thoughts on that on the following edition of Lost in the Midcard. I think it is. Let me look real quick. January 12th, so a couple weeks before the Rumble. So I will definitely be there, that's for sure. Let's shift some gears over to that other company, AEW. They're in the midst of their version of the G1 Classic called the Continental Classic, and it has spawned some great matchups. We've already got some interesting results in the standings, and I think overall it's become an interesting tournament. I've had some interest in this, Matt. What about you?
Yeah, I think it's been highly entertaining, and I think all the promos that the wrestlers are cutting after the matches are implementing all the additional story elements into the tournament that people would request and want. I think it's the best of both worlds, and I think we've gotten a lot of great action the last couple of weeks. And we got another big upset considered by some on Collision Saturday night when Brody King picked up his second straight win and got a win over Claudio Castagnoli. And I'm thinking Claudio loses again this week because I think Eddie's getting his first win in the Continental Classic this week on Collision, and he's going to pick up a win over Claudio. So,
yeah, and I said that last week. I expected Kingston to lose to start it off because he's putting everything on the line, and then he's going to make some sort of a comeback. He's going to fall short because I don't see Eddie winning it. But you never know. You never know how the standings will shake out. So speaking of that Blue League with Brody King is the only one at 2-0 right now because the other winners in the Blue League have yet to have a second match. Actually, this is not updated, is it? Well, hell, they had Brody King at 2-0, but Fightful did not update Claudio. It still says 1-0. Claudio's 1-1 with 3 points. Danielson has only fought one match.
Yep.
And that was worth 3 points. Has Andrade only got one match in his book?
Andrade's first match was against Daniel Garcia on Saturday. So yeah.
That was his first match.
That was his first. So he's got him and Danielson did not compete during the first week of the Continental Classic.
Yeah.
And it doesn't look like Brody King or Daniel Garcia are scheduled to compete this week. I don't know if that has something to do with one of them having trouble getting into Canada or something. But as of right now, they're not listed for Collision this week. So
for some reason, the Fightful article did not get updated. But thank you, Brian. Thank you, Brian Rose at Uncle Dave's Wrestling Observer. I've got it up here now. Blue League, of course, as we mentioned, Brody King 2-0, 6 points. Danielson only one match under his belt with 3 points. Tremendous match against Eddie Kingston there. Andrade El Idolo, who I thought Danny Garcia was going to get the win against, but he did not. Idolo at 3 points with a 1-0 standing. Claudio, of course, 1-1 at 3 points. Eddie Kingston 0-2, and Daniel Garcia is also at 0-2. It's weird. Like I would have, especially just how the crowd is behind Danny right now. I figured he would have got that win against Andrade, but he's going to be stuck, I think, because I think Eddie's going to be the one to make the comeback out of that. But yeah, I mean, Brody is definitely shocking the world. If we were to sit here and map out the first set of matches, we probably both would have put Brody 0-2, right?
Maybe 1-1, but I don't know if I'd have had him at 2-0 and with the two matches that he had. So it's certainly surprising. But I like that. I think we're gonna get some upsets this week. I think we're gonna get some wins that people aren't expecting. Who's Mark Briscoe facing this week?
Swerve.
Shit. I was gonna pick Briscoe to get an upset this week, but man, I don't know about that one. I don't know about that one.
Have they announced
the thing is, if
Collision yet?
It's Eddie and Claudio and Danielson and Andrade. Like I said,
it?
Garcia and Brody are not currently announced for a match this week. Like I said, I don't know if they're having trouble getting into Canada or what's going on there, but
yeah, and there's 3 matches on Dynamite this week. We'll get to that later.
So I don't know, man. Like the thing is, if Lethal and Briscoe lose this Wednesday, they're out.
Eliminated.
Like,
yep.
Yeah, they'll be able to do their things, but like mathematically, they're out already. So man, Mark and Swerve, man.
Swerve's at 2-0 though, so
I
know one loss may not hurt him.
That would be at one hell of an upset.
Yep.
In this tournament, if Briscoe beats Swerve,
because I don't think Roosh is going to beat Moxley.
Oh. You know what? Maybe that might be the safer pick. I might think it's safer to take Roosh over Moxley than Briscoe.
But you think Briscoe's going to go 0-3?
I don't know, man. This is what's exciting about the tournament. We're in the thick of it now. And you're like, man, they can't afford this this loss type deal.
At least we can say, at least we absolutely know Jay White's beating Jay Lethal. So
they should have done Lethal and Briscoe this week.
Hey, at least if Jay's going to win that match.
In my humble opinion, they should have done Lethal and Briscoe this week.
Yeah, it's almost like an eliminator.
That would have given one of them a win, and the other one would have been mathematically eliminated. I think it would have been. I think that would have been a very high stakes type of match. I think they should have ran with that this week.
So moving on to the Gold League, Moxley and Swerve 2-0, 6 points. Jay White 1-1 with 3 points. Roosh also 1-1 with 3 points. And then, as we mentioned, Lethal and Briscoe 0-2 at 0 points. Let's go to the chat real quick here. MK saying Danielson versus Eddie, a banger. Yes, it was. That was a tremendous main event. Steven Chambers, Brody King has been awesome in the tournament. Yeah, I mean, that is the surprise of it, and that's what's the beauty of this thing. We expected there to be something crazy happening here. And some people like Claudio we thought maybe would be undefeated possibly, but yet there's a guy like Brody King here going 2-0 right now. Steven also predicting Danielson and Swerve for the Continental title in the finals, which that'd be a banger. Steven also down there saying slowly building a Kingston heel turn.
I don't think so.
What do you think is the?
A lot of people are going to tell me I'm freaking crazy.
You're
crazy. My prediction for the finals is Mox and Kingston.
Yeah, because I said it on the show.
I think Kingston's going to roar back. And I think the winner of the blue block, it's going to be Kingston and Danielson, and Kingston's going to get the win back.
I said that on the show last week. I expect Kingston to go 0-2 and then valiantly fight back. I said that last week. So he's in there, and he's in there with I closed the article, but anyways. Yeah, I mean, that I fully expected it, especially him going 0-2 and putting everything on the line. I fully expected that to be the narrative going in. Nick Wayne's mom Yeah, she might turn heel.
I do not. I do predict interference. But I don't think
know
it's
if
going to
there's
be Nick
going to
Wayne's
be.
mom. I think it's going to be the return of Jack Perry.
I don't think there's going to be a finish. I'll tell you that much.
I think Christian. I think Christian will pin him.
Oh,
because I think Jack Perry is going to return and cost Adam the match, and Christian and Jack are going to get together again.
how about that?
Since Kill Switch and Nick Wayne are currently on the shelf, I think this is the opportunity. This is the window where you bring Perry back and you put him back with Cage. So that's my big prediction for Dynamite this week. I think it'll lead to a Cage Copeland rematch of some sort at World's End. But I think Cage gets the win this Wednesday, and I think it's because of Jack Perry.
Damn. Moving on, we mentioned this briefly in passing. This could be a WrestleMania main event, possibly. But a few days ago, it was reported by Fightful Select that sources seem optimistic that CM Punk could be taking on that guy right there, Stone Cold Steve Austin. What? In a major dream match, and obviously, if this is to happen, it's got to be at WrestleMania. Fightful says that they have learned upon CM Punk's return this past Saturday, there were several in the company pushing for the possibility of these two to butt heads, so much so that we're told that Punk has even had discussions about it. As of now, they're told many in WWE are hopeful, even optimistic, that the match could finally be put together. One source within the company says there's been many ideas already floated between CM Punk and WWE regarding this feud. They have not heard how far they are in talks or planning or pitches, but that if all went well, the ideal scenario would see Punk flying to Austin to go over ideas with Steve. One indicated that while this is an ideal scenario, there's a lot to get through first. Those close to Austin say that they've never heard him mention any personal issues that the two would need to get over. So that's already a major hurdle that's already cleared between Punk and Austin. Punk and Austin had been along of a dream match for the better part of 20 years. Austin was not interested in a return to the ring in 2022. He returned, of course, in the main event of WrestleMania to take on Kevin Owens. And even though it was not like an officially sanctioned in the ring type of match, Matt and I could agree Stone Cold looked tremendous in this match physically. And the ability to put together an exciting match still was in the repertoire of Steve Austin. Obviously, Kevin Owens is in there too. But, so Austin can still do it, which is makes it even more exciting. So Punk and they mentioned here, Punk and Austin had an interaction on the June 13th, 2011 WWE Raw for a segment with Jim Ross as part of the WWE 13 video games. There's not really been much crossover between the two, but man, could you imagine? I don't even know where you start on this feud, but man, can you imagine? I mean, and Steven says no Punk. That's probably the backup plan.
Well, here's the telltale sign. If they got Austin, they're doing Seth and Punk at Rumble. We'll know. We'll know if they've got Austin. Because if they've got Austin, Punk and Rollins is happening at the Rumble. If that is not happening at the Rumble, that means they probably don't have Austin.
Yeah.
So,
did we ever find out how far back it was locked in for Austin and Owens last year?
Well, a lot of people insisted it was part of Owens' contract negotiations. One of the main reasons he resigned. So they would have had to have locked that down a good probably 4 months ahead of time that was going to take place. So that was probably before the Rumble they would have known. So yeah, I'm not rolling it out. I think the telltale sign if we see Austin at Mania will be Punk's opponent at the Rumble. If Punk's in the Rumble itself, then I think they got Austin. If he's facing Rollins for the World Heavyweight Championship, then that means they got Austin locked in for Mania.
Can you imagine a full-blown feud for weeks leading up to WrestleMania between these two guys? Man, what a time to be alive in pro wrestling. Speaking of CM Punk, another gentleman from the 90s chimed in on Monday's promo by CM Punk. That was none other than the NWO Hall of Famer Kevin Nash. And he felt that CM Punk's WWE the promo to end Raw felt very contrived. He said on his podcast, I thought the glad handing on the way to the ring was not him. For somebody that was so pipe bomb, it felt very contrived. At the end, it was like, oh shit, I better slip this in and have some credibility, quoting Punk. I'm not here to make friends. I'm here to make money. I've heard that before, as Nash said on his Click This podcast. Now let's talk about that promo. You in the chat, let us know as well what you thought about Punk's promo. A lot of people came in expecting a pipe bomb. I pretty sure I said it last week. If not, I said it on Twitter. I go, don't expect a pipe bomb. One ain't going to be coming.
I didn't expect a pipe bomb, and I expected more than we got.
Okay.
I expected a couple sly shots in AEW's direction. Nothing direct, but I expected a couple of sly shots, anything that could keep him out of legal trouble. And I just expected a lot more piss and vinegar out of his promo, especially when you had Rollins earlier in the show calling him a hypocrite. Like the fact that he didn't even really acknowledge Rollins' promo from earlier in the night, to me, was disappointing. And I don't know. I went to Twitter after Raw ended. I'm like, that was the tamest CM Punk promo I've heard in a long time. And I think that's the best word to describe it. It was tame. It was very tame. I saw a lot of people using the word safe. I thought the realest thing he said was what he said at the end. I'm not here to make friends. I'm here to make money. I think that was the only truthful. I think that was the only truthful thing that he said in that entire promo on last Monday night.
Do you think Nash was right there when he said, "Oh, I better slip this in at the end"?
Oh, I wouldn't doubt it. Yeah. I wouldn't doubt it.
Nash knows the business, man.
You know,
he's not a bullshitter.
I laughed hysterically when he said he was home. Dude spent the last 10 years burying this company and wishing it would get a nuke dropped on it. I'm home. I mean, shut the fuck up, dude.
I mean,
you ain't fucking home. This is the company that's going to pay you the most money right now.
Watch his AEW debut promo and then watch the Raw promo from last week.
Listen to his podcast with Colt Cabana. Listen to him in any interview he's done in the past 10 years. That man, to say I'm home. Good freaking God, dude.
I don't know if he said that on his AEW debut, but he did mention about pro wrestling. And
he said he left pro wrestling when he left Ring of Honor in 2021. He returned to pro wrestling, basically saying that WWE wasn't a pro wrestling company.
Well, they weren't at the time. Sometimes it's still debatable. But yeah, I don't know, man. But yeah, MK has a good point here. That he should have opened the show and have more time.
Well,
I think kind of pressed.
I think they knew if he opened the show, a lot of people would have tuned out. I think they were trying. I think they were trying to hold the viewership for Punk being in the third hour. But Orton and Dominic's match reportedly ran over, and that cut into Punk's promo time. And I would not be the slightest bit surprised if WWE did that on purpose to see how Punk would react.
Oh, well, yeah.
Your first day back on Raw, let's cut your promo time. Hey, live TV, pal, what can you do? Let's see how he reacts to it backstage. I would not be the slightest bit surprised if that was a test on Punk to see how he would react by having his return promo cut.
Holy crap.
You all right?
I haven't looked at ratings in a while. Last week's Raw was, or not last week, but the week before was 1.45 million.
Yeah, Monday Night Football's been kicking its ass.
And
it had a really nice number for Punk and Orton on last Monday night. But the question is, did Punk's promo turn people off? Are they going to tune in tonight? Because let's face it.
Punk's not advertised.
But Bengals and Jags are not. It's not like a huge game.
Not with Burrow out.
Yeah. So I'm curious. I'm curious to see the numbers. I feel like the numbers tonight will tell me how the majority of wrestling fans felt about Punk's promo. Because even if Punk's not advertised, the average fan who doesn't live online is going to assume that Punk's going to be on Raw tonight. They don't need to be told. They're just going to assume that he's going to be there. So I'm very curious to see what the Raw numbers are this week.
Then they'll be mad that he's not there.
Oh, I know. those people aren't the typical people that are online, so you're not going to hear them complaining about it. They're just going to complain about it to themselves.
You want to know the cool part about this? I Googled for the ratings last week, and AI generated a paragraph for me of last week's Raw drew an average of 1.884 million. This is an increase from 1.459. So that's kind of a cool little AI thing, until they take over and it's Terminator 2 all over again. But so a couple of quick hitters to close out the day. Justin Barrasso on from Sports Illustrated has confirmed, as well as Sean Ross Sapp, they have both confirmed that Kazuchika Okada will be a free agent in 2024. I do not see WWE landing him at all.
They want him.
He's familiar.
They want him bad.
He's familiar with AEW. He remembers what Impact Wrestling did to him. So going to a new thing, yeah, I don't know. And Julia Hart is under a full-time con.
I want to talk more about Okada.
Okay. Well, hurry up. We got 3 minutes.
Yeah, but I think Okada's a lot bigger than Julia Hart. No offense. Like, she's under a full-time deal. Anybody with half a brain knew that. To me, it's not really big. Okada's a big deal. And Okada's contract expiring the same time frame that Ospreay's is. That's huge. Okada is the backbone of New Japan Pro Wrestling. He is New Japan Pro Wrestling. To WWE, to people who aren't familiar with Okada, Okada is New Japan's John Cena. Or you could even say he's New Japan's Roman Reigns and Tanahashi's John Cena. Any way you want to look at it, he's one of the biggest names in the history of New Japan. To me, I know he's under a dual deal right now, but I foresee Okada could potentially be the first full-time dual contracted performer across New Japan and AEW in 2024. Yeah. I could see because New Japan clearly can't afford to keep him at the price that he's probably looking for. But if
Tony can make up for that,
if New Japan gives him a contract and AEW gives him a contract and they share that man, he's gonna be able to make as much money as he wants, and he'll be able to stay, as Tony said, in their galaxy.
I just don't think
New Japan and AEW.
WWE
wants this dude bad, and I don't think
he can trust him.
I don't think you should trust him either. I don't think you need to look no further than Shinsuke Nakamura to know
exactly
that you shouldn't trust You shouldn't trust WWE to take your character.
Are they gonna
and do right by him? But the money's gonna be there. They're gonna back up the Brinks truck to Okada, and WWE's gonna try to get this man. And I think it's in AEW and New Japan's best interest right now to lock this guy down, just like they did Ospreay. But I think this should be the first performer to be under a dual contract for New Japan and AEW in 2024.
Yeah, I just don't see him trusting WWE. So even though WWE wants him, I don't think he's going to be going there. Looking ahead to Dynamite and Raw, MJF and Samoa Joe taking on the Devil's Masked Men. Tony Storm taking on Sky Blue for the women's title. 3 Continental Classic matches, as we mentioned: Jay White, Jay Lethal, Swerve, and Mark Briscoe, John Moxley and Roosh, and of course the TNT title on the line as 2 Hall of Famers, Christian Cage and Adam Copeland, are button heads for that. Monday Night Raw, Seth Rollins defends his World Heavyweight title against Jey Uso. Drew McIntyre vows to knock out Sami Zayn with a Claymore. Shayna Baszler taking on Nia Jax. Caden Carter, Katana Chance taking on Tegan Knox and Natalia. It says contend with, so I wonder if that is a contenders challenge match.
Maybe.
The Creeds take on Dirty Dom and JD McDonough, Cody Rhodes, and Shinsuke Nakamura. There you go.
It's interesting that they're doing that, because I think Natalia and Tegan Knox became #1 contenders last week, didn't they? Or 2 weeks ago, or something.
Yeah,
I felt like they earned a title shot. Yeah, I don't know what's going on there. But
they lost though.
It's time for. Did they lose?
Yeah, did
they have a title shot and lost? Man, I don't even remember it. I don't even remember it.
Well, Executive producer Dick Wolf is signing us off. Enjoy Monday Night Raw. For Matt Black, this is Jeremy Bennett. Thanks for tuning in to Lost the Midcard on WrestleZone. We'll catch you next week.